Good evening. Today is April 25th, 2023. The time is now 5:30 p.m. This meeting of Georgetown County Council is now being called to order. We welcome all of you here. We are asking Councilman Carolina to give us the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we come together this day asking for guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Continue to allow us to grow closer as a group in nurturing the bonds of our communities. Guide us with your grace as we make decisions that will affect the citizens, businesses, environment, and the future of Georgetown County. Put within us a revitalized energy of progress as we move forward in 2023. Continue to remind us that all that we do as stewards over the land is for the greater glory of you, in service of humanity and progress for Georgetown County. Continued peace and blessings to all in our county, state, and country. In your holy name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, Councilman Carolina. We move down to the approval of agenda. I think from Councilman Carolina, there was a request to move item 6D from the consent agenda further down on the agenda. Is that request still necessary?
Information that I had requested of our attorney for clarification on the progress of the demolition project has been received. We have the necessary documents, survey permit, asbestos survey permit, the building permit. So I'm requesting that we move forward with keeping that on the consent agenda so we can move forward with this project and get this building removed and debris cleaned up for the town of Andrews.
Okay, thank you. So we are moving forward with the approval of the agenda as presented. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilman Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. For the record, I forgot to mention that we do have a quorum present this evening also for our council meeting. I just needed to state that for the record. Thank you. We move down to our nonprofit spotlight. A nonprofit spotlight, and it's coming from one of our sponsors, really, Francis P. Bunnell Foundation. We'll have a report from the director, Ms. Gil Sands, and the executive director, and Ashley Nelson, will speak regarding Palmetto Giving Day.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for this opportunity. Is this working? For those of you who may not know, the Francis P. Bunnell Foundation was established in the year 2000 by Francis Bunnell, who was 95 at the time. Our mission is to improve the quality of life for Georgetown County residents. Her initial gift was $34 million. And as of 2022, the Bunnell Foundation has invested $35 million in Georgetown County, mostly through grants to nonprofits and government entities that serve Georgetown. But there's more. 5 years, the Bunnell Youth Board has been in existence. We have youth from all 4 public high schools plus Low Country Prep. They're juniors and seniors. There are 19 of them. They work as a group for 2 years. They make grants and they have special projects. For 6 years, we've been partnering with the Coastal Carolina University Georgetown RISE program for internships in the spring and the summer. I'd love to have a show of hands of how many of you have employed one of these interns over the last 6 years. Charles, is your very good, thank you. And in Pathways to Possibilities is a career expo that we've sponsored since 2019. We held it in February at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center, where we hosted 6,000 eighth graders from 10 counties for a career expo to help them understand that what they're learning in school is a pathway to a paycheck. We've partnered with Georgetown Tech for 9 years on a technical scholars program through the Georgetown County School District and Georgetown Tech. But for 12 years, we've partnered with you, the YMCA, and the Georgetown County School District on the Y Splash program, which is a program where every single second grader in Georgetown County gets on a yellow school bus during the school day and goes for 4 weeks to the Y pool to learn water safety. This is an exciting program that has saved lives because, as you all know, we have 5 rivers, a bay, and an ocean to deal with. And this is a program that's been going great guns for 12 years. But tonight, we're here to remind all of you that next week is Palmetto Giving Day. That day when our community pulls together to lift up all the nonprofits that work so hard to make Georgetown County a better place. My colleague, Ashley Nelson, is in charge of promoting Palmetto Giving Day, and she's going to tell you all about it after Randy shows you our first video.
Good afternoon. My name is Ashley Nelson, and it is my honor to serve as Senior Director at the Francis P. Bunnell Foundation. Over the past 6 years, Palmetto Giving Day has raised over $9.7 million for nonprofit organizations that serve Georgetown County. Nonprofit organizations play a vital role in strengthening communities and providing resources for the population that they serve. From food pantries and youth serving programs to animal welfare groups and the Behavioral Health Collaborative, Palmetto Giving Day is comprised of 83 organizations that provide services to a broad audience throughout Georgetown County. Many of these organizations depend heavily on the support of our generous community, particularly that of individual donors. Palmetto Giving Day began 7 years ago as a new opportunity to enhance the fundraising capacity for our local nonprofits. 7 years later, in addition to the millions of dollars that is raised during these 36 hours, the element of building community and uniting across sectors is priceless. I'm asking you to join us next Tuesday and Wednesday, May 2nd and 3rd, as we give back, as we give together, and as we give more. So as I take my seat, I'm going to leave you with one more vibrant message from a few of our nonprofit friends. Thank you again for the opportunity to talk about the work of the Bunnell Foundation and our upcoming Palmetto Giving Day.
Thank you, Ms. Sands, Ms. Nelson. Any questions or comments for Ms. Sands or Ms. Nelson? Council. Georgetown County really appreciate all the work that you've been done for the sustaining of Georgetown County and for its enhancement. We appreciate you, and obviously we'll work towards promoting Palmetto Giving Day also, because it's a worthwhile cause. Thank you. We move down to our public comments. A public comment period is included on each meeting agenda and shall be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. No speaker may yield her allotted time to another speaker. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk of council before the meeting is called to order. Please note that when you begin your comment, you will notice the timer on the screen, and we ask that you adhere to that particular timer. Once your time has expired, we ask that you conclude your comments. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up this evening?
Mr. Chairman, we have 11 speakers signed up tonight. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes, and our first speaker is Les Pitzer.
My name is Les Pitzer. I live here in Pawleys Island, specifically the Traditions development, which is one of 30 developments that accesses the beach through Litchfield by the Sea. The purpose I'm here in front of the council today is to have the beach regulation changed to exclude tents on the beach. These tents are mostly 14 by 14 with tie downs that go 4 to 6 feet in length. That equates to somewhere between 324 to 400 square feet of beach space. It obstructs and prevents others from enjoying the view of the beach and the ocean. The tie downs are trip hazards for those on the beach and little kids running around on the beach. The beach area is not that large to begin with, and especially during high tide, it really shrinks down to a narrow area. In Myrtle Beach, Surfside, and Garden City, Horry County, they already have this as part of their regulations, beach regulations. There's no tents allowed. Now, you've probably seen in the news more recently in the U.S., the homeless don't have anywhere else to go, so now they're going to the warmer states where there are beaches, and now they're starting these beach communities and tents on the beaches. So that would also help prevent that. I wanted to step back and just go through the steps of what brought me finally here today. Well over a year ago, a bunch of the communities, there's actually 30 that go through this Litchfield by the Sea development. We went to the board meeting of Litchfield's HOA meeting, and we complained to them about the tents on the beach. They said they were going to take it up. A couple months later, I believe someone from the council came, and that person went through the steps that are required, and we kind of expected that was going to be taken back here. But a couple months later, we had another HOA meeting in Litchfield by the Sea, and they said, no, they're not taking it up. Then I spoke with Beth at the Park and Rec for over 5 months, back and forth with her. She told me she was going to take it up with council. Someone from council get a hold of me. Never happened. Finally, I was able to reach out to Teresa Floyd here, who's been phenomenal. She got me to give you documentation. And really all I want is tell me what steps I need. I couldn't find it anywhere on the website. Just someone send me the steps I need to get this moving forward. Thank you very much for your time.
Jennifer Hunt.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Hunt. I'm talking about our little town of Andrews. It's a great day to live in Georgetown County. Andrews right now doesn't have EMS. We have a building that's supposed to be taken down properly. It is quite an eyesore. That's part of 6B that'll be talked about later on tonight. We have a municipal building that's partially completed. We have some serious sewer problems, and quite a few of us have errors with our water bill. But I love Andrews. I'll probably be here for the rest of my life. But I want, when a situation comes up behind closed doors, when you're all talking together, and there's a way to do something to benefit Andrews, please help us out. I know I'm speaking broadly, and I'm sure that not everything is in your power, but if there's someone who is listening to the words in my mouth right now that can help, please do so. Thank you.
Eddie Lee.
I'll be for you shortly. I'm standing before this governmental body, and one of the things I have to say, where's your sense of decency? Number two, where's your sense of consciousness? Putting back EMS for the citizens' standards that relates to this governmental body not being aware it's surrounded. Number three, as Mayor Pro Tem to Town Andrews, I represent people, not color. This is my voice, not a speechwriter voice. In God I trust. Thank you.
Mayor Frank McCleary.
Mr. Chairman, Council. Today, again, we're back here probably for the fifth or sixth time to address some serious concerns in Andrews, and you've heard from two of our residents already regarding the demolition or the partially demoed building and the hazards that structure presents to the public. I understand now that you've moved that. We've spoke extensively with Mr. Caroline, and I appreciate your efforts, sir, and everything you do, but moving that item to the consent agenda doesn't help us understand what's going to happen. So that still leaves us to coming back here to every meeting to try to get some resolutions for this situation. The EMS, as I was just spoken of, I just want to make you aware that over the last 19 days, on the 1st of April, the traffic accident with injuries. Later, unresponsive call. On the 3rd, a lift assist. Later that day, another unresponsive call. On the 6th, a traffic accident with injuries. On the 8th, an unconscious response call. Later that day, another unresponsive call. On the 11th, unresponsive call. On the 12th, traffic accident with 8 injuries. 13th, traffic accident with injuries. 14th, unresponsive. 17th, overdose. On the 21st, traffic accident in County Line Road, which required both of the folks involved in that to be airlifted out. And later that day on the 21st, a traumatic injury on the 22nd, OBGYN situation where a baby was born in the bathtub at the hotel. And later, the ambulance showed up. On the 22nd, a stroke. 23rd, the traffic accident. And on the 24th, the last report I have here is an overdose. So the need is great for the service to be back in town. I don't know how much clearer that we can make this, and we ask that this become a priority for you for both of these situations. And again, I spoke with Mr. Caroline. Again, I appreciate your efforts, but it doesn't help us when you keep the information on the way ahead close hold. So I've asked you on the 11th of April, send a request to Mrs. Christian asking to be a part of the discussion. so we could communicate that to the people. So we're dragging elderly folks out here every meeting for the last several weeks, trying to get answers, and nothing comes out of these meetings. For the young lady who spoke and talked about the water and sewer, that's my responsibility. And so we'll take care of that. And so is the public safety. And a part of that is this council's responsibility to ensure that we have the proper medical coverage, and to ensure we're not placed in danger by demolishing a building that has not been properly vetted in terms of environmental studies. And again, we have a lot of experience up here. We shouldn't do that. Thank you for your time.
Franklin Nelson.
Good evening, Council. I'm here in represent of Sanford community, along with the other area dealing with the EMS. I have served with Georgetown County for 33 years in the fire service and retired. I've torn up vehicles, protecting and serving lives. Just the other day, 14 minutes to respond to North Santee, the life were gone. What it's going to take to get the ambulance back in their district, Andrews, 9 Mile Curve, to protect and serve? Does it take lawsuits for Georgetown County and people who's in charge to see that these ambulances be in their prospective place who get paid for doing it? As serving as a person in the community for years, we can't do no more than what they allowed us to do. 14 minutes for life, that is too long. The first 3 to 5 minutes is critical. Been in the medical field as well. Can they hear us? Can they feel the pain? This part of Georgetown County don't have no coverage. Go across the bridge. Paulus Island and Walker Mall, well protected, 24/7. We pay tax just like them. We are people just like them. We need to be protected and served just like them. May you hear us. Or do they have to be personal lawsuit for someone to respond? Oh, what if it be your family member and it takes 30 minutes for an ambulance to show up? How would you feel? Think about it.
Cindy Person. Martin Mays.
My name is Martin Mays. I live in Andrews, South Carolina. As a resident of the town of Andrews, I've witnessed this town has continued to survive despite the efforts to stifle the people of Andrews at great risk because of ill-advised decisions to remove EMS services. We currently dealing with an unsafe environment because of the building with hazardous materials with improperly, partially demolished. The county is facing the cost of over $300,000 to abate and demolish the old recreation building in Andrews, and has held funds from the town for the completion of the municipal complex, where the abatement demolition costs of the old fire department was $700,000. The narrative has been that the project has been over budget, but never considered of the pre-construction costs required before the first brick could be laid. Costs over 2014 ordinance states are covered in dealing with our current abatement issue. I hope this gives you some perspective as the town awaits the county's court system to schedule another hearing date. Failing to take the proper steps to address our recreation center has now exposed everyone in a 3-mile radius to hazardous air quality concerns. It almost cost the life of county employee FB 811. Wasn't contacted before digging of the property to stage the emergency exercise training and cause actual emergency with an EMS service nearby. your county employee experience firsthand what the citizens of Andrews have been going through. As we sit and wait to hear what resolution you have come up with for EMS services, citizens are suffering longer waits for response, and our county EMT workers are telling citizens that they can blame the mayor of Andrews. I think it is unacceptable for any employee to speak to anyone in that matter and all the powers that be to return the EMS service to the town of Andrews and start a new positive relationship with us all. The whole county and state are watching how we are being treated. You have the power to change that. Reverend Alfred Darby stood before you asking you for your help to reach out to the delegation about the four-way stop issue at the intersection of MLK, Martin Luther King Avenue and Seaboard Road and Highway 41. He did the same in Williamsburg. He already made a resolution and forwarded it to the delegation. We can get Georgetown County. Can we get Georgetown County to do the same? These are your constituents too. Thank you very much.
Angela Anderson.
Good evening. My name is Angela Anderson. I live in Andrews. My question is, what plans do you have to bring EMS back to the town of Andrews? What plans do you have for the four-way stop that Mr. Mays is talking about? What are your plans? We, the citizens of Andrews, think we should be aware of your plan for our town. You don't consult us in making decisions, but we sure would like to know what you plan to do for the town of Andrews. As the citizens of Andrews, I would like to know, what are you going to do for us and help us to be safe in our own town? Thank you.
Deborah Wright.
Good evening, council members. I'm Deborah Wright from Andrews, and I've just wanted to speak about the partial demolition of the old Andrews Gym, and it's just a disaster waiting to happen. It's an open invitation to curious children and teens to investigate what is inside of the building. It's also a spot where vagrant people can seek shelter. Because of the asbestos in the building, dangerous gases have been released into our airspace. My brother lives just a block away from this building, and I live about a half a mile from there. This hazard has to be removed as soon as possible, as well as we need to get EMS back as soon as possible. Thank you.
Wilma Brown.
And I will be very brief. First thing I want to talk about is the EMS. Y'all said that y'all would take it under advisement and do whatever you think is best. We're still waiting for your decision. And as we wait, there's a possibility of more and more citizens passing away. And the other thing is the building that's just sitting there. I rode through town the other day and looked at it. It's just an open invitation for our children to go play. It needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Tom Rowland.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of council. My name is Tom Rowland. I own and operate a business called Land Services Company that's located on Industrial Drive. And I am here simply to ask you to please approve consent agenda item 6C, the procurement number 23-012, which includes the resurfacing of Industrial Drive. Thank you.
Tim Tilley.
Hi, guys. I'm Tim Tilley, president of EnviroSep, and I ask that you approve and consent the CTC proposal for road resurfacing for FY '23. Believe that it's well within the budget. And secondly, I would ask for your appointment of my friend Ashley Nelson for Planning Commission. Thank you.
That is our final speaker.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And thank all of you for your comments. We move on down to our consent agenda. Please note that by virtue of the agenda being approved, 3 matters on consent agenda were previously approved also by virtue of us approving our agenda. The items that were approved were procurement number 22-102, change order to emergency beach access and marsh walk repair and reconstruction. RFQ number 22-107, local comprehensive beach management plan and engineered beach services, rebid. Procurement number 23-012, CTC road repair and resurfacing. And procurement number 23-023, environmental and demolition services for former Andrews Recreation Center demolition project. Let's move down to appointments to boards and commissions. Councilman Mercado, I understand you have an appointment to Georgetown County.
I do, Chairman.
Planning
I'd like to appoint or nominate Ms. Ashley Nelson to Planning Commission for District 6.
Thank you. Ms. Mercado, Councilor Mercado is nominating, well, I guess is moving to have Ms. Nelson appointed to Georgetown County Planning Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman, was it Elliott Newton? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor of Ms. Ashley K. Nelson being appointed to Georgetown County Planning Commission, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to the Planning Commission, Ms. Nelson. We'll move on down to our resolutions and proclamations. Okay, we're moving down to our resolution and proclamations. Ms. Jackie Broach, our County PIO. Introduction of proclamation number 23-08.
Mr. Chairman, Mental Health Awareness Month was first observed in the United States in 1949. Since that time, communities across the nation, including Georgetown County, have observed Mental Health Awareness Month each May in order to promote mental health wellness. Good mental health is essential to a person's overall emotional and physical well-being. Mental illness can affect anyone and can develop at any time. The effects of mental illness spread beyond an individual to impact family, friends, and coworkers. Council's consideration of proclamation number 23-08 was requested by the Waccamaw Center for Mental Health for the purpose of bringing awareness to the issue of mental health and to empower those affected by mental health distress and to encourage them and their loved ones to seek care. Upon adoption of the proclamation, Waccamaw Center for Mental Health Board member Deborah Heller is present to accept.
Thank you. You have heard the introduction of proclamation number 23-08 by our PIO, Ms. Jackie Broach. Is there a motion pertaining to proclamation number 23-08?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve proclamation 23-08.
We have a motion by Councilman Newman for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Elliott for adoption of proclamation number 23-08. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We have someone to receive the proclamation.
Yes, sir. If you and Ms. Heller would come up, I'll take a photo of the presentation.
All right.
Ms. Heller may not be here, actually.
Not see her here.
Okay, I'm sorry. Apparently she could not make it.
We'll make sure we get it to her.
Very sorry about that, sir.
We move down to resolution number 23-09, a resolution authorizing an economic development project by and between Georgetown County, South Carolina, and Project HC1, and matters related thereto. Our attorney, Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll take 9B and 9C together, and they're essentially related. It's HC1, HC2. These are two economic development projects out at the business park out towards Andrews. The resolution essentially authorizes the administrator, economic development director, to take whatever actions needed to, I guess, pursue these projects. Written within the resolution is language that says, so long as conditions agreeable to the county and so long as the same inure to the benefit of the county. So it is essentially exploring these economic development projects and to the extent that they are beneficial to the county to enter into agreements.
Okay. Is there any questions from council pertaining to resolution number 23-09, now 23-10 for our attorney? Hearing none, is there a motion pertaining to resolution number 23-09?
So moved.
It's moved for approval from Councilman Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor? Please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries. Now we're going down to resolution number 23-10. Is there a motion pertaining to it? It's moved for adoption by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Newman. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go down to resolution number 23-11. Attorney Watson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, again, this is a project out at the Andrews Business Park area. With that park growing, it's been determined that there's need for an additional electric substation out there to service all the industries that are coming. And so this resolution would authorize, again, Economic Development Director, the administrator, to pursue a project with Santee Electric or one of its affiliates to establish a new substation, electric substation for service. And there's a piece of property out there that is such of a small size, it's not really feasible that it would ever be used for an industrial business. So we'll be working with Santee to use that piece of property for a substation.
Thank you, Attorney Watson. Any questions for Attorney Watson from council?
Council Watson, I take it we're basically making this land available to Santee Electric to put the substation because we're growing so fast out there.
That is my understanding, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And from the location of the substation, it is kind of tucked away behind another industry out of the way where it's not big enough to sell. So it's really just sit there and go to waste if they didn't use it. Is that correct?
That is also my understanding, yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from council? Okay, is there a motion pertaining to resolution number 23-11?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve resolution number 23-11.
Okay, I have a motion from Councilman Newman for approval, adoption of resolution number 23-11. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down to the second reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 23-13. Our planning director, Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the Georgetown County Land Development Regulations to amend the text of platting actions for a family subdivision. Currently, when a subdivision comes before us, whether that subdivision is proposed by a developer, a tract builder, or a parent who is looking to subdivide their land for their children, the same requirements of the land development regulations apply. We don't have the ability to distinguish between a developer versus a father or mother who is just attempting to deed that property to their children. So this is basically a way to add a provision to make it an easier process for that parent in that case of a family subdivision, but yet still protect that property in the future so that when it is developed in accordance with our policies and with the necessary infrastructure at the time of the development. We have several instances where family members, basically surveyors, bring us the plats where they are attempting to deed individual tracts to their children. Often this is in the western part of the county, not always, but often it is. And at that time, we have to tell them you need a land disturbance permit. Where is your 50-foot right-of-way going to be? Where are your plans for that road? And certainly they are not ready for that level at that time. They don't have any intent to develop at that time, and they're merely trying to deed the property to their children and avoid an heirs property issue, which we know is prevalent throughout our county. And they're trying to do the right thing in our mind to get that property deeded prior to their passing. Our proposed text changes here in front of you. It does provide some requirements. It would only allow for the deeding of property to family members and family as we've defined it here in the ordinance. It would only allow it for what the land development regs refer to as a minor subdivision, which is 10 lots or less. And regardless of the zoning district, it would only allow it for parcels 1 acre or more. And that requirement is there because keep in mind what we're allowing here is the creation of parcels. It will create a new parcel, and that parcel may not have a road to get to it yet. It may not have the necessary stormwater infrastructure to it yet, and that parcel will be recorded and exist as a parcel. So our concern was if you start getting smaller than an acre and allowing the creation of lots that are smaller than that, we're not going to then have the necessary room for the infrastructure that might be required once they're ready. Once those family members are ready to put houses on, and let's say they need a stormwater pond, the smaller the lots are, then we're not going to have that land available. So that's why we kept it at a 1 acre minimum. We also have a requirement here that, like I said, no development, no building permit, no land disturbance would be approved until such time as the infrastructure is submitted and in. And that infrastructure can vary depending on what type of development. It may just be the installation of a dirt road to get back to where a new structure would be. It could be, if we're looking at 10 lots with a brand new cul-de-sac, engineering plans. But they would basically sign an affidavit that the development would not happen on the parcel until such time as that infrastructure was in place and approved. The Planning Commission held a public hearing on this item. There was no opposition. We did receive support from the local surveyors. We've also met with our assessor's office regarding this. The county attorney has, of course, reviewed the ordinance. I think the Planning Commission discussed this at 2 different meetings, and they unanimously recommended approval for the change, and staff's recommending approval as well. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Any questions from council for Ms. Richardson?
Yes, I have a couple. Ms. Richardson, I understand the 1 acre lot size. Say it's a big tract of land, say it's 200 acres, and there's 10 children it's being divided up to. There's no limit on the size above 1 acre.
No, sir.
But if you have land that is road frontage, part of it is in the back, no road access. Is there one of the inheriting children gets one of the back lots and wants to build a house on it? Can they do that?
Not until they put in the adequate infrastructure to access that back piece. So the plat would need to show us, it would need to leave room for the new easement or new road. but they wouldn't be able to build that structure until they put in that access.
That was my next question. When this takes place, it's not required for them to show the road access to those back lots?
Well, they would need to show the room for it. They would show it on the plat, and then the plat would indicate, you know, that no building will happen here until such road is constructed per standards. But we would want them to leave the room for it.
Okay,
When the time came.
thank you.
If the road is created on the property, are they mandated to deed it over to the county for maintenance? Or is that a private road? If you're talking about infrastructure like water and sewer and fiber optics and power lines, what happens there? Must they deed the road space over to the county for maintenance?
That would not automatically happen, of course. If they would have to petition the county then to accept that road, and it would have to be built to county standards with the 50-foot right-of-way and potentially a paved street and whatever those requirements of public works are. But it could be a private road that they would then maintain as well. For example, we do now allow for a 25-foot easement for up to 3 or 4 lots. But obviously, the county's not going to accept that. The county would only accept at the 50-foot right-of-way.
Thank you.
Ms. Richardson, the proposal that's being presented here, it's being presented to allow for family distribution of family property to avoid some of the initial costs that would have incurred if it wasn't there, basically.
Yes, sir.
And all the requirement that you sent here pertains to family-owned property, and they're really just trying to give it to their heirs or to their children, basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just trying to simplify the process for them for doing that, basically. Is that the purpose of the ordinance?
That's
resolution?
right. To allow them to go ahead and give that property to their family members without having to go through, for example, the stormwater review process or have an engineer design the roads.
And there's some question pertaining to access to the property, and that basically has to do with the proposed road being depicted on the plat that's going to be presented for approval. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any further questions for Ms. Richardson?
I have one question. Is there a way to get the easements ahead of time if needed, or at least approval of those? I don't know if that would go to.
Yes. Typically, our department doesn't review easements. They just don't come before us. We could certainly add something to the application to that effect, but I'm not sure how we would know that they had recorded the easement, because we're not going to review that like we will review the plat. The plat won't get recorded without a signature from our department.
I'm just thinking of public works issues with current easements, and is there a way to remove that in the future?
To make sure that there was an easement there ahead of time.
If needed.
I think that would happen at such time where they were ready to dedicate that property to the county. At this point, they're just going to reserve it on the plat, such that, you know, a family member wouldn't get that property. It would show as a right-of-way on the plat, a reserved area. But the county wouldn't be involved in it at that stage unless they petition to dedicate it to the county.
Even if it was a private road versus a dedicated road, and what Council Lady is mentioning, if you have a parcel on the backside and you're going to run power lines, wouldn't an easement requirement be needed by the power utility?
Yes.
As a setback in a ditch or whatever, drainage is, okay, so you would have to establish easement area even on an unimproved road.
Yes, at the time of development, they would need to coordinate all that with the necessary utilities.
Okay.
Okay. Any further questions for Ms. Richardson? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion pertaining to ordinance number 23-13?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilman Carolina for adoption of ordinance number 23-13. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Newton. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thanks, Ms. Richardson. We'll go down to first reading of ordinances. The first reading of ordinance will just be read into the record. Ordinance number 23-14, an ordinance to make appropriations for ordinary county purposes for Georgetown County for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30, 2024. To provide for the expenditure thereof, to provide for revenues for the payment thereof, as well as adjustments to various fee schedules. Ordinance number 23-15, an ordinance revising and amending ordinance number 2021-05 to reallocate capital sales tax revenues for community projects. Ordinance number 23-16, to authorize and approve an amended and restated agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Georgetown County and Horry County with property located in Horry County to require the payment of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, to provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and to provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. Ordinance number 23-17, to authorize and approve an agreement for the development of a joint industrial and business park by and between Georgetown County and Horry County with property located in Horry County Multi-Use Sports and Recreational Complex, to require the payment of a fee in lieu of ad valorem taxes by businesses and industries located in the park, to apply zoning and other laws in the park, to provide for law enforcement jurisdiction in the park, and to provide for the distribution of park revenues within the county. We'll move down to our approval of minutes.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Would it be possible, as part of a report to the council, I see Ms. Beth Goodall and Nancy Silver here, and because we have citizens from the town of Andrews, that we can give them an update on this demolition process, the time frame, an anticipated date to start, an explanation of the scope of work, and any protective measures that will be put in place between now and until the demolition process starts and completed, such as protective fence and air monitors. If that's possible, that we can have a report, a status report on where we stand for the citizens.
I think at this particular meeting, Councilman Carolina, we have approved the environmental demolition service for former Andrews Recreational Center. So we'll have to get that request to the contractor who's going to be doing that particular job, and we may be able to give an update on it at our next meeting, because then we will have some more information from the contractor as to when they can begin the project and how long it may take for the project to be completed. So I think we can probably provide that information at our next meeting.
Well, I would hope, I mean, since we have the citizens here, it's just going to be a preliminary, just to reassure the people of where we stand on this. Another 2 weeks, we don't know if the process is going to be started in the next 2 weeks. Is it going to be started this week, 3 weeks, or a month? Just to give some reassurance to the people that the process is underway. We understand the consent agenda has been passed, but to also for the individuals of departments who have specifically signed off on the project, just for reassurance.
I think we are reassuring them by letting them know we are giving it to the contractor to get the time period, so the funding has been approved. So we'll have to know the additional information from the contractor. I don't think it's something that the staff will know at this particular time until we actually award the contract to the contractor and sign the contract for the completion of that particular project. So I think we can do it. We said we're going to do it. We have approved it to be done. So now we assign it to staff to go ahead and get the contract executed and get the information from the contractor, which will be necessary to give us the update on the pertinent information that's necessary to get it approved and get it finished and finalized.
You know,
so I think the staff will be able to take care of that.
This, just to reassure the citizens. To reassure the citizens. We understand it's been actually it was given to them, but for the department heads who've signed off on it, just a reassurance.
Do you have any comment from any other council member regarding?
Nobody wants to know. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We move on down to our approval of minutes. We have our regular council meeting minutes from April 11, 2023. Is there, I think it's included within our package. Is there a recommendation for adoption of those particular minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor of the adoption of the minutes, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Any further business to come before council? Hearing none, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
The move by Councilman Elliott, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Newton. Any discussion? All in favor? Please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We now stand adjourned.